You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 131.1, the boys basketball scoreboard for Friday's games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties, with Saturday's game picks with Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report, we are so happy to have you with us. Today is December 28th, 2024. It's a Saturday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, and I love Central Indiana basketball. I am coming to you today from headquarters in Jeffersonville, Indiana, taking a little bit of a vacation, but not doing many vacation things. Mostly just talking sports. This is our boys basketball scoreboard for Friday's games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. Michelle Garmon will be along real soon. She and I will make our picks for Saturday's games. We got lots of segments coming up, lots of boys basketball segments, at least one every day, and at least one girls segment every day, although there are going to be some days coming up in the next week where we don't have a scoreboard. We'll probably have a special episode in its place during the New Year holiday. We will also have Colts news, Pacers news, IU, Purdue, college football playoffs with Eric and Ryan Robinson coming up. Just released Will Rutherford's 5 questions that need answers, where I ask him 5 questions about the national sports landscape, and he lends his expertise. So lots going on here at the Central Indiana Sports Report. And we start Saturday's scoreboard show, where we always do, with the local scores. Then we will go through the highlights of all the local games, and then talk with Michelle Garmon, who will make her picks for Saturday's games. And we start with our regular old boring 2 regular season non-holiday tournament games. We're actually 2 really good ones with a couple of ranked teams involved. Class 2A number 1 Wapahani improved to 8-0 with a 51-36 win over rival Frankton. And 2A number 9 Taylor is 6-0 overall and 2-0 in the Hoosier Heartland after beating Eastern 64-37. Host Kokomo beat New Haven 90-70 to start the Phil Cox Memorial Tournament. Merrillville, Portage, Warren Central also won their quarterfinal games to set up Saturday's semifinal matchups between Kokomo and Merrillville and Portage and Warren Central. Delta will face Class 2A number 5 Providence in Saturday's championship game at the holiday tournament at Delta. In the first round, Muncie Central upset Columbia City 57-52. Delta got past Fort Wayne South 54-49. Cecina beat Belmont, and Providence snuck past Concordia 38-35. In Friday evening semifinals, Delta blew past Cecina 63-41. And Providence stymied the Bearcats in a 38-20 win. At Shenandoah, Blackford went 1-1 on the day. The Bruins beat Tinley 56-50 for their 5th win in 6 games, then lost to Greater Latrobe from Pennsylvania 66-55. They will play for 3rd place against Greenwood Christian on Saturday. Greater Latrobe and Shenandoah will play for the championship. At Switzerland County, Hamilton Heights went 1-1. The Huskies lost 67-51 to unbeaten Paoli, then beat East Central 47-38 in the consolation bracket. They'll face Trinity Lutheran on Saturday. Hauser will face Joe Luce's Tippecanoe Valley Vikings for the championship. Western lost 59-45 to Perry Meridian in Friday's opening round at Lebanon. The Panthers will face Class A number 10 Metropolitan on Saturday. Perry Meridian is joined by Mooresville, Evansville North, and the host Tigers in Saturday's semifinals. At Edinburgh, Alexandria opened the tournament with a 48-37 win over South Decatur, then fell into Saturday's consolation game with a 76-52 loss to Class 2A, number 15 Northeastern. Alexander will face Doc Nash's Borden Braves Saturday, and Northeastern and Union County will play for the tournament championship. To some teams just outside of our coverage area that will have some interest. 4A number 5 Crown Point beat Brebeuf 57-34 to win the Noblesville Holiday Tournament Championship. 4A number 7 Noblesville finished third after losing to Brebeuf 47-46 and then beating Gary 21st Century 50-41. Also number 7, Noblesville and Carmel were tied for number 7 this week. Carmel beat Lake Central 57-26 at the North Central Classic. The other first round games, Wrights beat number 13 Pike 79-75 in overtime. North Central beat Evansville Harrison 80-64. And 4A number 15 South Bend Riley knocked off Park Tudor 66-51, and those were the 4 quarterfinal games. Maconaquah and Peru will play for the Miami County Championship after Maconaquah beat North Miami 97-68 behind 39 points from Josiah Bell and 25 points from A.J. Kelly, and Peru beat Caston 71-49. 2A number 7 Manchester and Southwood, which was ranked earlier this year, will play for the Wabash County Championship. Southwood beat rival Wabash 55-44. Manchester knocked off Northfield 77-41. Mount Vernon beat host Batesville 82-58, then Roncalli 52-40 to win the tournament at Batesville. And Lafayette Jeff beat Griffith 65-39 and Andrean 60-42 to win the holiday tournament at Highland. Before we get to the recap of all of our local games, please go right now and like, subscribe, or follow us. We are at SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report and you'll find it at any of those sites. Please do it so you don't miss a single segment, and we greatly appreciate it. We start our daily recap with Wapahani's 51-35 win over Frankton. Wapahani jumped out to a 17-4 lead after one quarter and led 43-25 at the end of the third. Wapahani's now 8-0. They were led by Camden Bell's 18 points. The Raiders host 3-3 Jay County on Saturday at 7:30. Frankton is now 2-4. Joey Wright had 10 points, 6 assists for the Eagles. Senior Brady Carmack added 9 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Sophomore Trey Bennett had 7 points and 7 rebounds. And junior Ethan Stansberry had 5 points and 4 steals. Frankton is back in action on Saturday against another really good team, 6-1 Monroe Central on the road. Class 2A number 9 Taylor beat Eastern 64-37. Taylor's now 6-0 overall and 2-0 in the Hoosier Heartland. It was the same players as usual for Taylor, 3 really, really good ones. Dre McClatchy had 23 points, Javon Harris 22 points and 14 rebounds, and Keyshawn Galloway finished with 12 points. Taylor will play 3-3 Pioneer on Monday in the first round of the Indiana Kitchen Classic at Delphi. Eastern's now 3-4 overall, 1-2 in conference. Colton Lindsay scored 16 points for the Comets. They are back in action Saturday at home against 4-2 Northwestern. At the Delta Holiday Tournament, Delta is in the championship game after beating Fort Wayne South and Cecina, and they won their 7th straight game with a 54-49 win over Southside. Bronson Edwards scored 14 points for Delta. That loss dropped Southside to 7-1. They beat Belmont 70-41 in the next round to prove to 8-1. Delta then beat Cecina easily 63-41. In the semifinal round, Delta went on a 19-4 run in the second quarter and led 35-19 at the half. For the Eagles, junior Lucas Bragg had 17 points. Edward scored 16. Delta faces Class 2A number 5 Providence, which beat Muncie Central 38-20 in the other semifinal in Saturday's Delta Holiday Tournament Championship game. That is scheduled for 8 p.m. Muncie Central upset Columbia City 57-52 in the first round. It snapped a 3-game losing streak for the Bearcats and snapped Columbia City's 4-game winning streak. The win improved Central to 2-6. Freshman Jackson Johnson scored 22 points. He had some clutch free throws in the fourth quarter, also hit a big three, and had a 3-point play to help the Bearcats get past Columbia City, which was 5-2, and later beat Concordia 65-45 to improve to 6-2. Providence then beat Muncie Central 38-20. Providence scored the last 18 points of the game over the last 12 minutes. Central led 17-14 at the half. It was 20-20 with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. Central didn't score again. Muncie Central is now 2-6. They face 3-5 Cecina for third place on Saturday at 6. Providence is 6-0. They beat Concordia 38-35 in the first round. The 6-0 start is their best since 2012 under Lou Lefebvre. At Kokomo at the Phil Cox Memorial Tournament, Kokomo won their quarterfinal game 90-70 over New Haven. Kokomo is now 6-2. Senior Zion Bellamy scored 26, and junior Corbin Hamill finished with 25. Ervion Brooks and Barris Moore scored 14 points apiece. Bellamy also had 8 assists. Mark Feuerly set the tournament record with 11 assists. He also had 6 points. Kokomo will play 3-4 Merrillville in the semifinal at 10 a.m. Saturday, and will play either 3-3 Warren Central or 5-3 Plainfield in the championship game if they can get past Merrillville. New Haven is now 5-4. Tarver Baskerville, great name, and Dalen Jackson scored 18 points apiece for the Bulldogs. They later beat 3-4 Hanover Central 78-66 and will face Plainfield for 5th place on Saturday. Blackford went 1-1 at Shenandoah on Saturday. They won for the 5th time in 6 games with a 56-50 win in the first round over Tinley. Blackford got 19 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds from senior Gage Baker. Freshman Mari Leggett had 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. Mason Kitterman had 8 points and 7 rebounds, also 3 assists, and Jacob Dillon finished with 7 points and 5 rebounds. Tinley fell to 3-5. Blackford was then beaten by Greater Latrobe from Pennsylvania in the semifinal round. Blackford trailed by 22 at the half and outscored the Wildcats by 12 points in the second half. Blackford falls to 5-3. Baker had 19 points, Leggett 10, Jacob Lease 9, and Kitterman 7 in the loss. Blackford will face 3-6 Greenwood Christian. That's a good 3-6 Greenwood Christian team for third place Saturday at 2. Greater Latrobe is now 8-1. They won just 7 games last year. They will play 7-1 Shenandoah for the tournament championship Saturday at 4. At Edinburgh, Alexandria beat South Decatur 48-37 in the first round to advance in the winners bracket. South Decatur fell to 0-7 and later beat Austin 69-60 for their first win of the year. In the semifinal round, Northeastern beat Alexandria 76-52. The Class 2A number 15 Knights led 33-24 at the half, then outscored Alexandria 24-12 in the third quarter. Alexandria is now 2-7 and faces 5-4 Borden for third place at 6 p.m. Saturday. Northeastern's now 8-0. Sophomore Trey Van Landingham had 18 points, senior Sam White had 16, and junior Caleb Moore had 12. They play 3-3 Union City for the championship at Edinburgh at 8 o'clock Saturday. At Switzerland County, unbeaten Paoli beat Hamilton Heights 67-51 in the opening round. Paoli outscored Hamilton Heights 14-5 in the third quarter to pull away. Leading scorers for Hamilton Heights were junior Reese Knapp and senior Drayden Cerna, who scored 10 points apiece. Senior Carson Felger scored 9. Senior Gavin Saunders finished with 7. With the win, Paoli improved to 5-0. They later took their first loss 63-50 to Class A number 17 Hauser. The win over Hamilton Heights was the 200th for Paoli head coach Dusty Cole. His son, senior Fletcher Cole, had 23 points and 6 assists, and sophomore Ian Sullivan had 15 points and 7 rebounds. In the consolation bracket, Hamilton Heights beat East Central 47-38. Hamilton Heights is now 5-5. Saunders scored 12 points to lead the Huskies. Knapp scored 10. Sophomore Jack Kakasulev scored 9. Senior Tyler Champion finished with 8. Heights faces Trinity Lutheran for 5th place at 2 o'clock on Saturday. For East Central, they are 1-6. That was their 6th consecutive loss. They were led by senior Peyton Hofers, 14 points. They will face host Switzerland County for 7th place at noon on Saturday. And at Lebanon, Perry Meridian beat Western 59-45 in the first round of the tournament there. Western is now 6-2 and had their 6-game winning streak snapped. Carter Biggs led the Panthers with 16 points. They will face 10-3 Metropolitan at 10 a.m. on Saturday, then play again at 3:30 against either 2-5 University or 1-4 Faith Christian. Perry Meridian's now 2-3. They face 5-3 Mooresville at 10 a.m. Saturday in the semifinal round. 3-3 Evansville North and 4-3 Lebanon are in the other semifinal at noon. Before we get to our picks for Saturday's games, the Central Indiana Sports Report boys basketball player of the day is Kokomo senior Zion Bellamy, who had 26 points, going 9 for 17 from the field and 6 for 11 from behind the three-point line, and also had 8 assists in the Wildcats' 90-70 win over Newcastle in the opening round of the Phil Cox Memorial Tournament at Memorial Gym. Please stay tuned for Michelle Garmon's picks for Saturday's games.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
I outscored Michelle 9-4 on Friday, mostly by getting Delta right over south side of Fort Wayne. So the score is now Michelle 30, Greg 25. As we head into Saturday's games, welcome back, Michelle.
Thank you, Greg. It's always a pleasure to be here.
A review of what you won yesterday. I said Taylor by 19 points. You said more. It was 27. I said Alexandria by 12. You said less over South Decatur. It was 11. I said Paoli by 9 over Hamilton Heights. You said more. It turned out to be 16. And I said Kokomo by 13 over New Haven. You said more, and it was 20. This is the ones you got wrong. Wapahani by 16 over Frankton. You said more. It was exactly 16. That's 2 today that I picked exactly right. Blackford by 7 over Tinley. You said more. It was 6. So you missed by a point there. I said Western by 8 over Perry Meridian. We both said Western would win. They lost. Columbia City by 14 over Muncie Central. You said more, and Central won. Big win for them.
Hey, I did see a little bit of that game too, Greg. It was Muncie Central when I was in the fourth quarter. I watched the fourth quarter, and they looked so good, and they were running a little bit of a different offense than what I'd seen against Tipton, late, and against Hamilton Heights, and their guards were just tremendous. Wells and
Yep.
they were great.
And they were really good in the semifinal game until about 12 minutes left in the game, and everything fell apart. I think they scored one more basket. I think 2 more points the rest of the game. So I think they got tired. All right.
Tired, and I think that's that youth, don't you think? But I'll tell you,
Probably.
what I saw in that Columbia City game, it made me think, oh my gosh, as we said, this is going to be a team is to be reckoned with in a couple years.
It's coming. It is coming. All right, and then the big one. I said Delta. You said Fort Wayne Southside. Delta won by 5, and Delta will be playing for the championship tomorrow against Class 2A, number 5 Providence. Providence is the team that held Central to 2 points in the last 12 minutes of the game. All right, let's go to Saturday's games, and we have 4 games that are non-tournament. 2-4 Frankton goes to 6-1 Monroe Central. Greg says Frankton by 1.
Oh, they tend to not to lose
That's right.
too many, back to back very often.
That's right. This is the game. This is a game historically that Frankton wins. But
I know.
looking at the resume early in the year, it looks like Monroe Central is the better team. They're at home. But that's why I put Frankton by 1. Toss up.
Yeah, I know. It's that's a tough one. I don't know how much tonight's or Friday night's game against Wapahani is going to take out of Frankton. I know Wapahani got off to a great start in that game. Frankton cut it down, and then Wapahani just kind of showed why they're the number 1 team. I know they were they had a little bit of an injury issue. I think the kid came back, but yeah, back to back. Let's see. You got Frankton by 1. Do I take Monroe Central? And of course I would. It has to be Frankton by more.
Right.
You know what? I'll just say Frankton by more. Something tells me I'm going to go Frankton by more. I think it'll be close, like you did that one.
Yes.
So, I might be a possession or 2.
All right, 1-4 Chatard is at 2-5 Pendleton Heights. I say Pendleton Heights by 13.
I know, and Chatard can be good at times, but I'm going to say by more. I think Pendleton Heights, just kind of like in football, I think their record is a little deceiving just because of the conference they're in.
Well, they haven't played a team yet that hasn't been ranked, so that should tell you. This will be the first one. First team they played all year that hasn't been ranked, at least at some point in the season. All right, 5-3 Liberty Christian, one of those teams that was ranked that they beat, is 5-3. They go to 1-5 Brownsburg, and Greg says Liberty Christian by 2.
Yeah, this is the thing. That's a tough one because of course Brownsburg, I know their record's down, and I don't know how many of their football kids play basketball. I know it's a bigger school, so they may not have a lot. If they have a couple players that play, those bigger schools, sometimes they do. They still have enough. They don't have to delay the start of their season.
Right. Yes.
But
then they integrate them.
Ben Davis is one of them. They don't have to, but they usually have a football player or 2 that are key on the basketball team. And it takes until like about this time of the year for them to get their basketball legs under them.
Right.
And so if that's the case with Brownsburg, this is about the time of year you would expect them to start playing more to what they're capable of. Because those
it's a good program. Yeah.
Should have good program, and those kids by now should have their basketball. It's been a month, so they should have their basketball legs under them.
All right, 3-3 Jay County goes to 8-0 Wapahani, looking to go 9-0. I say they will. Wapahani by 23. By the way, Jay County coached by Jerry Baumholt.
Yes.
3 wins away from 600 wins.
Yeah, well, Jerry's still going to have to wait to close that gap.
I believe he is.
Wapahani. You said Wapahani by 23. I'll say more. Loose. He is, he's one of those coaches that he is very passionate, and he's not afraid to yell. And he took a timeout late in the game to chew out a player because of a turnover he didn't like or something he didn't do in the system, and went back and player went. And I mean, he's a perfectionist, and so I just think that I think they're rolling right now. I think they They want to get back to the state, and I think they feel like they have a little bit to prove.
All right, now we go to today's tournaments, and we've got quite a few. We start, of course, with the Grant Four. 2-4 Mississinawa at 3 versus 3-3 Madison Grant. Mississinawa just beat them by 18 on Friday. I say Mississinawa by 15.
I'll say more.
Okay. 2-4 Eastbrook at 5-2 Oak Hill, the host of the Grant Four. I say Oak Hill by 13.
Oak Hill by more. And I believe Oak Hill will win that tournament.
All right. If I had to pick a winner, I'd pick Oak Hill, but I would not be surprised, A, if that Eastbrook Oak Hill game is really close, and B, if Mississinawa wins the tournament. But I would pick Oak Hill as well. All right, Delta plays Class 2A number 5 Providence, which is 6-0. Delta's 8-1 and has won 7 in a row for the championship at the Delta tournament. I have Providence by 1.
Delta. I'll take Delta. They're home, and they've found ways to they find ways to win close ones, and I think being at home in that situation, and I'm sure Providence is spending the night in a motel somewhere in Muncie.
Speaking of ways to, or coaches who win close games, Providence would just won a state championship a couple of years ago and was the underdog in the last 4 games and won all 4 of them. So that Ryan Miller can coach a little bit as well.
Oh
So
no, I know he can. I just like
I
Delta
just wanted
because
to point that out because he's my guy.
if this game was being played on a neutral court, even like I would probably I might take them, or even somewhere in the middle. I just know that sometimes more than one day tournaments and multi-day tournaments, multi-team tournaments, being at home or being able to spend the night in your own bed and all of that, I think sometimes can be advantageous.
By the way,
It's
Ryan Miller,
hindsight.
a Lou Lefebvre guy. So uh, they play some defense at Providence to this day. Like I said, I held Central to 2 points over the last 12 minutes or something like that. Might not have been all the way to the end of the game, but they it was 20-20, and then suddenly it was 35-22. So they can play some defense. All right. And the other game at Delta, Muncie Central is 2-6. They play 3-5 Cecina for third place, and I say Cecina by a point.
Oh, well, it has to be more. I'm going to stay with Cecina. Like I said, I like this Muncie Central team, and I will say this: I do think no one better overlook them in March.
Yeah, better beat them now. By the way,
Yeah, beat them
you
now
better
this
beat
year,
them now.
and then don't overlook them, even if their
That's
record's
right.
below 500 come March in the sectional, because
They're going to beat some
this
good
young team,
teams.
yes, this young team is just going to continue to get better. It's just got to find a way to hold on, finish
Yes,
out games,
they've lost a
maintain.
lot of games right at the end. So, but
Yes.
I think that's a sign of a young team, and they'll learn from it. You can tell.
Well, you
Those
can't
those are
like
smart, who really know the game. They're very well taught, and you can tell they're good students of the game as well. So,
yes.
and so
I just
that
don't think they're super deep. I think if they were a
yes,
little bit deeper, that would help, because not that not the young kids, but when you're young, and especially most high school freshmen and sophomore males have not reached their full potential as far as muscle mass and all of that.
Kokomo is in the semifinal at Kokomo. They are 6-2 after today's win over New Haven. They take on 3-4 Merrillville. I say Kokomo by 17.
This is a tough one because they would play two tomorrow, right?
Yes,
Okay, I think they could win by more.
I see where you're going.
And, my thing is, if you have a real comfortable lead or a comfortable lead, do you uh, do a little bit more sub, change your rotation, or do you? Because I do think that Kokomo is. I mean, I think they're an explosive team, but I also know that when it comes, they're going to also you have to also be able to not stall necessarily,
Right.
but it comes down to when you have segments of games where it's free throws and layups.
Right. Put it into the freeze, as they say. You
Yes,
know, you know.
you're looking for the right stuff, but
Yeah.
by doing that, you're saving your legs on offense
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
that's where you rest. You rest on offense. You can't rest on defense because if you rest on defense, you're beat. You got I'll say less. I think it's 15, around 15. I think it could be around 20 to 25. I think it might just end up being late, a little bit under that
All
by the
right.
time it's said and done.
All right. At Edinburgh, 1-6 Alexandria takes on 5-4 Borden for third place. Borden, coached by the incredible Doc Nash, who led Borden to the 2012, I can't believe it's been 13 years, state championship. And Michelle, I covered them all the way to the state championship the entire way. There was at least one play or one segment of every game where he just completely outcoached the other guy. He is maybe the best strategist strategician
Strategist.
strategician strategist in-game strategist I've ever seen as a boys basketball coach. He's that good. I say Borden by 15.
Well, I'll say a little bit more.
Shenandoah at the Shenandoah tournament, 5-3 Blackford is playing 3-6 Greenwood Christian for third place. I say Greenwood Christian by 3.
And I'll say Greenwood Christian by more.
Okay, so we both are not deceived by the records.
No, we are not deceived by the records.
In the first round at Morristown, 4-2 Tri Central takes on 1-6 Western Boone. I say Western Boone by 9.
Tri Central.
Oh, you're taking them to win.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Here's
Interesting.
why they're going to be. Here's why. I mean,
You could be safe and just say less than 9, but
I know, but I'm going to take Tri Central. I've got faith in Cam, and
that'd be a big one.
it would be a big one for him, and I think Cam's pretty happy with the way they play. It looks like Izzy Fowler is over the gimpy, a little bit of the bruised knee. Logan Yuntz has been huge for them. It's
Yep.
going to come, it'll probably come down to I don't know how good of pressure defense Western Boone can put on, but I'm going to trust Jay Jankoviak and to stay out of foul trouble. And I think Tri Central, if that happens, I think Tri Central can give them um, some grief a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Trojans.
And if they win that, they play the winner between Heron and Morristown, and I would think they'd be the favorite in that one. All right, at East Noble, the first round. Ooh, 5-1 Anderson versus 1-6 John Glenn. Not even a good 1-6, Michelle. I say Anderson by 49, and that's only because it's a first round game and they're going to be resting guys.
I know it can. I know it could be. It could be a lot more. Oh, you got 49 right.
Yes.
Uh, okay, and I know it could be 60, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go less because I'm gonna go with the premise that Anderson is going to jump on them early, get a running clock, and sub out.
Very good chance that happens. All right, at Sheridan in the first
And the
round.
running clock, the running clock can keep it lower too. If they get to the running clock to where the whole second half is pretty much played under a running clock,
Good point.
yes.
Oh, and at Sheridan in the first round, very similarly. 0-8 North White at 6-1 Sheridan. I say Sheridan by 33 only because of the same reason.
Yeah, this one's a tough one for me because Sheridan did not. There's been a couple teams that I thought Sheridan should really um, be big on. I don't, and that was Frankfurt, and I think even Clinton Central. And the games were a little closer. And I don't know if that means that like Frankfurt's had a player that didn't
No,
start the season.
Sheridan has had a player out for one thing, but the
Okay.
last couple of games they played really well.
Okay. Yeah. And you said 33?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll say more. It'll be. They'll get to 35.
All right, at Greenwood in the first round, 3-4 Yorktown has lost 4 in a row. They go to 5-1 Columbus East. A very good Columbus East team, a program that's been down for a few years, but is definitely not down right now. They're going to be a factor in the Hoosier Hills Conference. I say East by 14.
I'll go under. Not much under, but I'll go under.
And at Lebanon in the consolation bracket, 6-2 Western takes on 8-3 Metropolitan. I'm going to do what Coach Bennington wants me to do and say Metropolitan by 5.
Oh, I know, and this is really tough. Less. I almost am tempted to pick Western, but I think it's going to be a one or two score game, and so I'll say less.
You're playing it safe. I get it. And our final game in the consolation bracket at Switzerland County, 5-5 Hamilton Heights versus 4-5 Trinity Lutheran. I say Hamilton Heights by 19.
Hamilton Hounds by 19. I'll say more.
All right, Michelle. I was going to ask you this. You already kind of volunteered it, but let's talk a little bit about it anyway. You say Oak Hill is going to win the Grant 4 tournament. Um, that's Oak Hill has not ever won the Grant 4 at Oak Hill under Kevin Renbarger. That's an interesting stat. In fact, only 3 times in the last 20 years has the home team won the Grant 4 tournament.
Yeah, I know, and that's because
And it's always
it
wacky.
rotates all the time. So it's those teams are used to playing in
Yes.
each other's gyms. But I just think Kevin's got a really I think he's got a really good team, and it's a team that can maybe even be even better come next year. But it's good, good guard play, and so that's why I believe Oak Hill will win. I think we'll win it.
So Kokomo is going to play Merrillville in the morning. We expect them to win that one. That game is at 11 a.m. Then we expect them to play Warren Central, which will play Portage in the championship game. A really good test for a couple good tests for Kokomo. But as we said, really thought Kokomo would bounce back and win this.
Oh yeah, you knew they were going to be mad and felt like they really had something to prove. And I'm going to guess they've probably gotten up a lot of shots had gotten up a lot of shots in the gym and were able to go back and just to work on maybe some little things that Coach Peckinpah saw that he felt like his team needed to work on, to clean up before this tournament and everything. And so, I think Como and Warren Central could be a fantastic matchup. And folks, I think that game is going to be on that network. I mean, it's not the same two
Mm.
announcers. So obviously, with 16, I believe it's Chris Lowry and his thing. So if you want to see the Kokomo games tomorrow, you can stream them.
Fantastic.
So
All right. I also didn't mention that Anderson was at. I mentioned they were at East Noble. I didn't mention after they beat John Glenn by 50, what's going to happen. They will play either Garrett or East Noble. Garrett's program has been awful for a long time. East Noble's been very good. Now Garrett's really good, and East Noble's not very good. So that'll be interesting. Garrett has a sophomore class that is fantastic. They have 2 sophomores, both scoring. Um, let's see, 15.9 and 16.6 points per game. So that should be fun to see what Anderson does against the winner of that. I would expect them to win that though.
I would expect Anderson to win.
And then Sheridan has an easy first round matchup against North White. And they will likely play Hagerstown in the championship game. That won't be an easy one. That'll be a nice test for Sheridan.
Um, yeah, it will be a nice test for Sheridan. And everything. Greg, I think what we ought to do is I think we ought to pick who we think are going to win the games at the Boys Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Oh, well,
Not
let's,
not for points. Now we don't need a point differential, but just
there
even
we go.
for fun. If we get it right or whatever, even if we pick the same one, it's a washout. If we pick different and we do, then
There we
we get
go.
maybe a bonus point. Just only 1 point, a bonus point.
And before we do that real fast, I want to mention the one more. We picked Yorktown versus Columbus East. Triton Central and Greenwood are on the other side of that bracket, and the championship consolation game will be at 5, the championship at 7. All right, Michelle, the Hall of Fame tournament schedule is Fishers versus Warsaw at 11 a.m., followed by Greenfield Central versus Jeffersonville at 12:45. Consolation game at 6, the championship at 7:45. Of course, that will be played in Henry County at Newcastle, and that is 4 teams that think they are state championship contenders. And your thoughts on the field in general?
Well, I think it's an outstanding field. I mean, my gosh, you've got defending 4A state champion Fishers, defending 4A state. Well, was Jeffersonville the state runner-up, or did they get beat
No,
in the
the
semi-state?
semi-state in overtime
Yeah, and so
with
you've got,
everybody back.
yes, with everybody back. You've got Greenfield Central with Mr. Braylon Mullins, and um,
Yes,
and then you've got Warsaw, who's got a great basketball tradition. Their
yes,
football team is coming off a state runner-up finish, so
they're very good
yes,
basketball team as well.
it's a
Um,
fantastic field. I mean, I think that it might be one of the.
Warsaw, of
It's
course, is
just a
6 and
great
0.
field.
Warsaw is 6 and 0. Fishers is 7 and 0. Jeffersonville has 3 losses, but they were playing without their best player for the first half of the season, who's been injured. And Greenfield Central is 6 and 1. Their only loss coming against number 2 Lawrence North.
Yeah. Um, I if Jeffersonville is healthy, and this is probably where my guess is they want to start kind of making the turn and making their starting the second half of their season per se and starting their march. Uh, so does Jeffersonville plays Warsaw
No,
first?
no, Jeffersonville, Fishers and Warsaw, Jeffersonville and Greenfield Central.
I think it's going to be Fishers is going to be in the championship. I actually think
Yes.
Fishers is going to win the whole thing.
Um,
Um, yeah, I know.
And by the
That's
way, Trey Singleton, Jeffersonville's best player, has not played a game yet. And I have no idea what his status is for Greenfield Central. I do think Greenfield has been vulnerable against the best teams in the state, have really kind of beaten them pretty good the last couple of years, even though they haven't lost. They've lost, what, 3 games in the last 2 years, and they've all been significant losses to really good teams.
now one
Um,
of one of those though losses by Greenfield was Braylon Mullins was playing with a stress fracture in his back, which
I see. All right. Yeah, I think I don't think I can pick against you. I will take Fishers and Greenfield Central and Fishers to win. So I can't pick against you.
yeah, yeah. That second game, that's a tough one for me.
But
Could be Greenfield Central because with Mullins, I think you get the Mullins factor. But you know what? I think it's gonna be a Fishers Jeffersonville. Um,
if Jeffersonville was at full strength, I would agree with you. But clearly, even if he plays in this game, it'll be the first game that he's played all year, and you know that's an awful lot to ask. They've really struggled without him at times. They lost to Silver Creek. Not that Silver Creek isn't really good because they are. Every team they've lost to has been good, but they've lost 3 games. I don't think anyone expected that. They lost to Noblesville. They lost to Pike.
yeah,
Um,
did they have 2 players out though? I think
they did
they have
early
one
on. Yes,
back.
yes.
So I mean that
No,
can make a difference right there too.
yeah, it could, but for now, I'm going to play it safe. All right, I'll take Greenfield. You take Jeffersonville,
All right.
where I'm currently sitting, by the
But we
way.
both have Fishers and we both have Fishers in the winning end. I just think that Fishers is just really good.
I'll say this: I think by the end of the year, Jeffersonville could definitely be the better of the 2 teams.
Oh yeah,
I
I
know
will.
they played each other this summer in Jeffersonville. It ended up being really close, but Jeffersonville beat them and really jumped on them early. So that could be very interesting.
It could be very nice. I think the boys tournament this year is going to be really good.
Yeah. Even down here in the South, the New Albany is very good. It's a lot of good teams, and I don't think Fishers is the favorite. I think, but I wouldn't. Lawrence North. I don't know if they're much better than Lawrence North. That's for sure.
And I'm not, and don't get me wrong, because I do think, some of the realignment toughened up some sectionals, made some easier. You know, it's a uh, sectional 39 got harder, and sectional 40 uh, got a little bit easier. I mean, I think for what I don't think Wapahani's going to be challenged much in sectional 40 for the boys.
By the way, more thing I should mention about the Hall of Fame tournament. It's number one Fishers, number three Greenfield Central, number four Warsaw, and Jeffersonville is number 12. But they started the season number two behind Fishers, so
Yes.
it's teams that have been one, two, three, and four this season.
Yes, I mean, like I said, it's a phenomenal feel. Like it's funny because I earlier tonight I thought, gosh, Greg and I should have thought of this yesterday because Greg and I um, could have done this with the
Yeah,
girls
didn't even
tournament.
think about it.
Yeah, I mean, just because, like I said, the Hall of Fame is, it's a
It's
great. I think
fantastic every year.
it is. It's a great tournament. And it's fantastic. Like I said, I've been blessed. I was there when Tipton won the girls in 1985, and then I was there when Derek Elston was a senior and Tipton lost again overtime. A really great game to Franklin Central. So and that was when Mark James was coaching at Franklin Central. So
And I've done more than one, but Floyd Central lost in overtime one year when they were really good under Todd Sturgeon. But I watched Romeo Langford win the Hall of Fame tournament there, covered that, sat with Eric Robinson and watched Romeo win the for New Albany, of course. And Jim Shannon, can't forget Jim Shannon, was
right.
the year after they won the state championship. So. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Michelle. Always appreciate it, and we will talk very soon.
All right, sounds great.
Thanks again, Michelle. She is the best. Also, thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow so you don't miss a segment of the Central Indiana Sports Report, and tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. Sissy.